Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hi. Okay, we're just starting to record now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Superficial Spirit. My name is Peter Breeze. We are crossing lines today, honeys. We are recording video and audio today so that we can go onto YouTube. It's a new streaming platform I'm hoping to explore and exploit. Just kidding. I actually, when I thought about, before I started thinking about doing a podcast, I wanted to do a YouTube channel because I want to be on camera and I've always wanted my own show and I love the idea of YouTube, but I've always talked myself basically out of doing it. Like, I missed the boat, the algorithms are too crazy, I don't know how to edit properly, I don't have the right equipment, I don't have a studio, blah, 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 blah. I have lots of ideas about what to do for a show, but that's always kind of stopped me. And then when I started the podcast, I knew eventually would incorporate video, but I wanted to do one step at a time so I didn't overwhelm myself. And it's a great example of how, having a huge vision and wanting it to come to life can be overwhelming. So you just have to start with one piece. Like, if I would have tried to do the podcast and the YouTube show and blah, blah, blah all at once, there was a risk that I would have been overwhelmed and just stopped. So I'm glad that I started with just recording. And now I can incorporate video. So I'm excited to do that. We have an exciting guest today, as usual. I am talking to a friend of mine all the way in Vancouver who I've worked with many, many different times. We've done a lot of crazy parties together. And yes, we can reflect definitely on the crazy days, honey. So part of the best part about this podcast is talking to people that inspire me and that I know personally, but also taking a whole hour to talk to somebody that that you find interesting, and really being able to give them attention and listen and ask them questions that you may not have been able to ask them. Like, being in nightlife for so long, you meet so many cool, interesting people, but a lot of the environment doesn't necessarily lend itself to sitting down and talking quietly and getting to know each other. And so the podcast has been great for me to connect to and reconnect with people that I think are just so fucking fantastic, and I know have so many unique things to say. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Shanda Leer, all the way from Vancouver, into the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Shanda Leer. And she's joining and joining and joining and joining. She's there. Oh my God, wow.
Hey, Diva.
Wow. You look
Yes,
amazing.
thank you. I had a minor technical difficulty with my fancy podcast microphone, so I'm ready to take your call.
You look, thank you. Thank you, caller. You
Thank you
look
so much.
great.
First time, long time. Yeah.
I know the equipment of is a little nerve wracking with the mic and the headphones and stuff. Hey, it can be a little nerve
I
wracking
just,
putting it together.
yeah, I just don't want to mess it up for your end product because for
You,
me, like, I've got the stuff. I'm ready to go. I don't care. I don't care how I look. You look glowing, by the way.
honey, ring light,
You're
$29.99.
I love it. You're just fully in the future right now with this skincare routine.
I know, it's great. It's just light. It's just like, I wish like if I could go back into the clubbing days, I would just instead of the club photographers, I just want somebody to carry a ring light around and just stand in front of me. That would
Well,
have
let
been
me tell you,
ideal.
right here.
There it is. Yeah.
Perfect. I got it. I bought it for the Text Me Live. So I was just setting, I want to get like a little bit of the chest hair in because we know that that's the real money shot for me.
Oh yeah, it's the selling feature, the furry chest. Do you remember when that was edgy for drag queens? Like having
Yes.
first of all, being a hairy East Van queen was like, oh my God, people on Davie Street could not wrap their minds around it.
Somebody brought that up to me recently. I can't say yet, but I'm working on a little something
Oh,
and a
okay.
little something sports related, which is very exciting for me.
Oh my God, that's
And
so
now that I
cool.
said it, I hope it actually happens. But I was talking to this guy and he said, he's like, do you ever get flack from other drag queens because you obviously don't try and do like a feminine presentation? And I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but like Yes. Oh my God. When I first started doing drag, and like a bunch of us on the east side, like we were complete jokes to the West End girls, which was nuts in hindsight.
It was. I remember it happening because I was such a Davy Street disaster. Like that was where I really like
You, for
lived.
me, you were like Peter Breeze. Like Peter Breeze was like you were essentially Vancouver's like only club kid in my mind.
Well,
Because
thank
I
you
moved
so
here from,
much.
well, I moved here from Nova Scotia in
Okay.
2011. And so by first, like I went to Davie Street. I lived in the West End. I was like, all right, here we are, gay village, how exciting. And I would see you in extra and like hosting parties and stuff. And I'd be like, I don't know who she is, but like something's going on here.
You know what? I love hearing that because there's a difference between people who like were part of my friend group or like part of the social scene like when I first moved to Vancouver and before I was in the media and did music and was like super popular, and then people who came while it was happening, because people who came while it was happening only saw that I was like this celebrated club kid, but people who were there at the beginning were, it's not that they mocked it, but it was more of like a, it's not so serious, he's just like getting fucked up and being paid to do it. But I love hearing that because looking back at that time of my life is like, did any of that actually happen? Like I tell people
Well,
about it now and I'm like, you don't understand how crazy my life was and how crazy all of our lives were, but it feels like a different planet now.
it even so, like getting ready for this, I was thinking you and I have spent a number of like crazy years together.
Hmm.
So even thinking of that stuff, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe some of the shit that we got away with.
Got away with, and just like the fearlessness to just create something for the sake of doing it and having an idea and then going for coffee and then like the next week having a party or a show.
I have to say, I learned a lot from your just like making things happen attitude because like after we worked together, like I've always had these ideas and stuff I want to do. And I just had no idea who to talk to, and then if I tried to, it seemed to just go nowhere. But like you and I deciding to do a country night because we both love country music, and then you just calling the bourbon and being like, hey, and then it happened.
I
And
know.
now
And then it happened.
now one of us is incredibly famous.
I know. I was thinking about how we can talk about that. I mean, we can't really talk too much about it, but yeah, I think that yeah, one of our friends is really famous, and that's all we'll really say about that.
I
But
think it's okay, but
I think it's okay to talk about the fact that our friend is famous, but I'm just like, I just want to let them do and just go as far as possible without
oh,
any illusion
absolutely.
being broken, you know?
Mhm.
I also realize that I am like I have to like when I'm texting this person, really try not to be a fucking freak because I cannot believe the things that are happening in their life and the like the people that they're making friends with and the people that they're working with. And I feel like my heart starts racing and I'm like, I can't not talk about the fact that you're so famous, but I also don't want to be that annoying person who's like, can we talk about how famous you are? Because I don't know. I've never been in that position. Like, does somebody who become famous want to talk about it all the time? Do they want to be like giving the tea about the celebrities that they meet? Or do they just want to be like told, you know, I think you're doing a great job and then go back to normal?
I actually have kind of an insight on this because a friend of mine, his husband he works in Los Angeles and he works in TV, friends with a lot. He's very well known himself. I would say famous, but like has friends that are like quite famous. And maybe like first or second time I was hanging out with him, I was like telling my friend like I feel like such a dummy when I like I don't want to bring this stuff up because they don't want to sound like a freak. And he's like, well, like he worked this hard to get to this level. So like if you ask him like a question or two, he's like, just don't be a psycho about it. But like who doesn't want to talk about their accomplishments?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. I think as long as it comes from an authentic place, like if somebody's excited about your life, I mean, what an amazing conversation to have. I think if every interaction you have with them is like that, then maybe it feels a little false, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. It gets to be a bit too much and you're like, you're not interested in me, obviously.
Right. Oh God, now I'm gonna get anxiety about that. No, but it's good. Yeah, you just have to be self-aware, I guess. And it's interesting that you brought up the like just getting shit done because Evan and I talk about that a lot too. I have so many creative friends who are brilliant and so talented and really get into the zone of creating and then stop at the releasing part, like working on music until it's perfect. Honey, it's never going to be perfect. Writing a book until it's never going to be perfect. And I don't know why I have that about me where I'm just able to like go for it and sort of throw spaghetti to the wall and hope that it works. But it is so I found,
Confidence.
yeah, confident. But I look back at the time and I think I exuded confidence. I don't know if I always felt confident, but I definitely exuded it. I know that. And I think it was like a fake it till you make it thing. Like I have to follow these ideas because if I'm not creating or putting something out, then what am I? It's more of like that fear kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
But
Yeah.
I was actually last night archiving old photos on Instagram and I was thinking about talking to you and I was thinking about all the parties, like the country party, Sailor Moon at the Rio.
That's to this day is like the best that I've ever looked because Ray Sunshine painted me to the grave. It was stunning. And I just love that we decided to, it wasn't even, it was Sailor Moon, but was that when we decided to just do a cartoon, like we were just going to do
Oh,
tributes to cartoons?
Showgirls. Yeah,
Showgirls.
Saturday morning cartoons. So that when I look back creatively was I feel like my favorite thing that I've done. That wasn't linked to a brand. Like I love the Spice World thing, but that was, the Spice Girls already existed. The Saturday morning cartoon drag show to me is like still such a fucking cool way to present drag.
There's so many people who do like one-off numbers where they're doing like a cosplay as a cartoon, but we put together a full show in a movie theater and like just decided, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah.
It
And
was it
imagine
was
that
great. Those shows were
it,
great.
they were really, really good. And I feel like to be able to have the owner of the Rio, Kareen, like get a
Yes.
phone call from us and be like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem, do it. And we have this amazing, like for those people who haven't been to the Rio, it's like 420 seats, like there's two levels, huge stage, run down backstage, but super fucking glamorous. And they do
Yeah.
like concerts and comedy and movies. And we did like full shows. I mean, and at that time too, Drag Race was on, but it was still unique or like a novelty for drag queens to be outside of the club.
Yeah, I would say Drag Race. What season was that? Probably like six.
Yeah, Dora Delano.
Yeah,
Kind of,
Adore
yeah.
Delano era. So like, yeah, for sure, you're totally right. Drag queens were like just starting to kind of crack other forms of media. It's so weird to think that in our like little microcosm of Vancouver drag scene, all of this other stuff was happening in drag, and like we were not even emulating it, but like we were doing some stuff before other people were doing stuff. They just had the larger platform.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
It's so crazy.
It is. And you know what I'm realizing now too is like by talking to people like you and people that I've known from the club scene for so long, we have like legends in Canada, like legendary people who have set the tone, who have paved the way, who have done like remarkable things creatively, production wise, like so many talented people. But we don't have the platforms. Like there was no movie Party Monster about us. Canadians don't have reality TV in the same way. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
we have the creative capabilities, and there is a lineage of like club legends and like drag legends in Canada.
absolutely. Like the fact that we have somebody like Mado in
Oh,
Montreal who owns their own cabaret is like a drag legend. Or we've got somebody like Michael Venus who like is also now in Montreal with like Never Apart and like Cotton Venus and the Cotton Venus TV show. Like it's crazy that these people to us are like, oh, they're obviously legends. If we ask somebody in Canada who's not queer, they'd be like, who are you talking about?
yeah.
It's
Yeah, but I mean,
crazy.
before RuPaul's Drag Race, I mean, maybe some people might have known RuPaul, but like, the average person doesn't know who James St. James is or like
No.
Amanda Lepore.
Can I tell you, I want to say I was in junior high, but every year in my high school, the 12th grade class puts on some kind of like talent show. And so one year, this guy who I'm now friends with, two of them actually, they did this like lip sync number, and it was specifically Elton John and RuPaul's "Don't Go Breaking My Heart."
Nice.
And they announced it. They're like, it's going to be they'd say that song, it's Elton John and RuPaul. And I looked at my friend who I was sitting with and I said, I knew. I was like, do you know who RuPaul is? I'm a 13, 14. He's like, who are you talking about? And I said, RuPaul is a man who dresses like a woman for free.
Oh my God.
That's how I reconcile. 14 years old, I was like, I know who RuPaul is because I would watch like every late night TV show that I shouldn't be. I saw RuPaul on Arsenio Hall and it was like, that's a man, but he dresses like a woman. Oh, but he does that for free.
Yeah. I love that. I love that what our our preteen minds interpreted
Yeah,
that like what do you think it would have been like for you if Drag Race was on TV while you were growing up?
I think I know I would have come out a lot earlier, or I would have been more comfortable with like my idea of sexuality. I definitely would have done a lot more performing. Like I would have just leaned so much more into drag from like an earlier age, which I don't know if that would be like a good or a bad thing.
Right. I mean, the presence in the media would just make your mind aware that that was an option. I think creatively
Yeah.
you would just start exploring it. What then brought you to drag initially?
Um, I know when I was living in Halifax, I would go see the Thursday night show, which was like, I can't remember what it was, 5 Minutes of Fame. So it was kind of like a talent show,
That's
but
a good name.
it was so good. So like anybody could go. It was basically like an open mic. And every week somebody would actually win a cash prize, but it was like always a drag queen. Like constant, like once in a while a drag queen wouldn't win and everybody would be just plucked and feathered. But so I would go see that, and then I found it very interesting, but I still had a lot of like internalized like queer phobia and femphobia. So I'm like, that's cool, but like, man, that's not for me. But when I moved to Vancouver and I went to the Cobalt, probably my first night, Isolde and Baron was doing a typical Isolde and Baron number, over the top theatrical. The music was like current, the whole place. Because in Halifax during the drag show, people would watch, but it wouldn't be, at the time, people wouldn't be like, oh my God. In Vancouver at the Cobalt, the entire room stopped and watched. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I was interested, but didn't pursue it until Peach Cobbla at soccer practice dared me to do drag.
Oh my God.
So it was
It
fully on
started
a
as a
dare,
dare.
100%.
Interesting.
My first song was
Interesting.
Shania Twain, Don't Be Stupid.
What?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I said, if I'm going to do drag, I'm going to be a country music drag queen. And I started doing
I just got
country.
goosebumps.
And then I stopped. Then I started doing like because I think I feel like I did a lot of Celine Dion, but like I would just do whatever. I would do like Cher, Celine Dion, all of the old school stuff, lots of Patti LaBelle, lots of Gladys Knight, and but like country is like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ditto, bitch. Ditto. And I agree with you about like Isolde and Baron and those East Van Queens. They did command a room like I had never experienced before. And I think because they were aware that they were pushing drag to new places, that they
yeah,
had to. Like you had to be so fearless so that, when you're going on stage and you were presenting drag in a way that nobody had thought of really, and you're winning over an audience, you have to have that kind of confidence. And I experienced that too at the Cobalt. The Cobalt changed Vancouver queer nightlife, like period.
absolutely. Changed. I mean, it changed my life. At
Yeah.
like without sounding dramatic, it literally changed my life.
Were you there that one time when, oh God, this was before I stopped drinking, but I remember I was really high on MDMA and I was in the back with Jem and
I
I
was
was
probably
talking
there.
I was talking to Peach Cobbla and I said something along the lines of like, East Van, oh God, why am I telling this story? And it's already recording. That was great. We probably like yeah. They
Yeah,
did cultivate a family, but that back room at the Cobalt saw a lot of things. Like it was
I
this tiny
cannot.
little room, like
Yeah, the shenanigans I've gotten up to in every inch of that space. is like unholy, the things that I've done there. And I like, I'm sad that it closed, and I'm sad that it like will likely not come back just because of the building owners are slumlords, and it's not up to code, and they're not going to pay to do it. I don't have any details on that. People ask me constantly because I was just there all the time. But like I have no idea. I just assume it's not coming back. But in a way, I'm like, it's nice to have that like almost 10-year chapter just kind of like done. I would
Yes.
still, if it was still going, I would still be there for sure, probably performing, but like not there in the same capacity. I just can't.
Oh, fuck. Tell me about it. Like how, I mean, that I I look at people who I feel like are still so active in nightlife, people like Quana and Carlotta, and I'm like, how?
It's
How the
shocking.
fuck do you maintain that?
Like
Like, you
fixing my
know,
hair while you talk.
no, you do that. That's okay. I felt like for me, it sucked so much. It took every ounce of my being to like be a shameless self promoter and out all the time. And that changed a little bit when I started promoting parties, but still, I mean, I really burnt out and was like, I need to stop and move away. And that would have been harder if the original Odyssey was still open, if the Cobalt was still there. Like if your go-to spots were still there and still bumping, it would be so much harder to leave and change your life.
It totally. And like I'm 100% with you there because I got so burnt out on one, keeping a 9 to 5 job, like
Ugh.
an office job, and where I like have responsibilities, and and doing like drag probably at least 2 times a week, and then like working on like photo shoots and like other projects and stuff, and I just got so, and then partying and like seeing people, and it was the socializing and it was the promoting and like talking, excuse me, talking to people that I have no idea who they are. And I'm so grateful that they came to shows, but like I don't know what to say to you anymore. And you know, I lost it. It's like I basically quit drag for like a year and a half.
Hmm. Well, you brought it
And
up, not me,
also,
honey.
hey, I'm happy to talk about it because I learned a lot of things in that time off.
Well, I see what from an outsider's perspective, all I saw was Brat Pack be created, be super fucking cool, and then slowly people starting to leave, like you, Valen. I don't know in what order, but I am curious about that
I was
time
first.
because
I was the
you were
chair.
first. Okay. Oh my God.
And I'm the redhead, so
Well, there you go. So I did make some tea. So
oh,
why don't we get into that now? What made you
all
stop?
right. I
Like
also
why?
have some tea. I'll just
Oh, I love that. I love that tea, honey.
It's from North Paw. I want to shout them out because they're a black-owned brewery here in Vancouver. Well, Port
Love
Coquitlam.
it. Why are you holding your hand up like
Because
this
it's the
behind it?
YouTube. It's such an old joke to be like, look at my makeup brush, like the
Oh,
hand behind.
I don't watch.
You
I've
have
been
to
having
stick to the old jokes, kids, because they
okay.
still work.
There you go. There you go. From
That
Shanda
didn't
Leer.
work at
Henny.
all. I am a comedic legend. Okay, why did I quit Rat Pack? That's the question, right?
Yeah. And take a step back from drag in general.
Well,
And don't
okay.
hold back, bitch. I want to know details.
No, I'm happy. I mean, listen, I've had so many years removed from it now that like I will tell you everything that I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
um, so like I said, working 9 to 5, stressed out constantly from work. Brat Pack was so fun. I was at first I thought the girls got me to join as a joke because, like you said, like hairy chest, bearded queen. I have never tried to be like very good at makeup. My costumes are always very like Atlantic City, Nana. Like I love retro and I love a very specific style of comedy. And I would get roasted for it constantly. So when you get Jane, who's you know, like a hot woman,
Totally.
and Valen and Gia and Jem and like all these like stunning, like, beautiful queens, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like to make fun of me or something. And so
Uh,
for the first like 3 months, I was like, I don't know about this, but like I'll keep doing because I like performing. And then eventually me and Jane had this like one moment where we finally connected and I was like, oh, this is so nice. She's a Gemini, I'm a Gemini. We like finally found the common ground. But then it just got to be too fucking much. We were doing shows. The original rotation was that we would do probably 2 shows a month. So it wouldn't be the full cast every time. They wanted to do like show or like Dream Girls in Los Angeles. And then from what I recall, and I'll name names, I think Gia wanted to perform more. I think she was like, I don't like it was Jane and Valen always hosting because I was happy with it. Jem might have also been like, we should be performing more. But anyway,
I'm sure she was.
I'm sure she was. So I can't say it was just Gia, but all I know is I was fine with the part-time rotation. And then we started doing the full cast, and I was like, yeah, I'll go along with it. And we were having a good time, and we were so popular.
Yeah.
And like it feels kind of like to say that, but like in the small realm of Vancouver, like we were a very popular drag show.
Yeah.
And I liked that. And then I just started to like I didn't realize it at the time, but I just really started to lose myself in like trying to please the audience, trying to please the girls in the group, because like I love them all in their own way, but the constant needling of like that I'm bad at makeup, that my wigs suck, that my numbers are weird, that I like the outfits, that I wear kitten heels, that I have cankles, that I'm like
My
hairy, like
God.
masculine. I was just so much of it. I was like, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind, but didn't, to my detriment and the groups, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to
Mm.
be, I knew that, well, it felt like I was the problem. So I didn't want to like make a fuss over it because I'm like, obviously everybody else is doing a great job. So like, I should do this. I internalized way too much of it. And then I was like, I haven't seen like my friends who aren't into drag in probably a year. So I got really like lonesome for them. I started making other like friends just from nightlife, like especially Trevor Risk. He was like a very, very good friend of mine now. But like, so meeting Trevor, we had like insane like compatibility and taste of music. He loves sports and I love theater. I love sports. And I didn't talk about it or like participate for like 2 or 3 years because there's no room for sports talk in the green room.
Right.
People don't care. And so and then if you tell them, you'll just be like, oh, look who's Butch. Oh, who's she trying to
Right.
what's she trying to prove? So being able to like go back to that part of my life because I played sports from the time I was like 13, like in school and competitively, and finding Trevor to, and then like him introducing like friends to me, and then also finding people who are like not just gay but like queer, like
Mm.
that just also was like, oh, this is so nice, and I missed this. And I had this one specific night out where I was like ripped on MDMA with these guys, this new like circle of friends, and I like going home. I think we might have had to do something the next day, but I remember like going home and being sad. You're high, you're high on top of the world, and I was going home and I was sad, and I was like, "Ah, I don't want to do drag anymore. I don't want to see these people anymore." And a high thought turned into like an anchor on my shoulders and was like, but I didn't know how to talk about it with the girls, and so I quit in a dramatic fashion. Basically, just didn't tell them. I
Oh
just
my
like
God.
said like I said I just didn't show up for like a rehearsal one time, then messaged them and said like I just can't do the show this week. And Jane for sure, Jane and Valen, I'd say all of them reached out in like their own way to be like, are you okay? Like what's happening here? And then Jane and I actually had a drink at the boxcar and we like kind of like wrapped it up where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's just so far like the idea of picking up a makeup brush. And even though I'm wearing one of my most favorite dresses right now, I hate wearing women's clothing in public. I hate it. I hate it. I will do it on stage, but like you've seen me. I'll show up to the gig with the full face done, but like wearing my
Totally,
regular
actually,
clothes.
yeah. Now that you mention it, that's true. You always did show up in boy clothes.
And I'll leave in boy clothes. And I hate wearing women's clothing in public. There's nothing more exposing to me than being dressed up as a woman. And like it's not any sort of like weird like gender dysphoria or femphobia because I love anybody who explores their gender. Just for me, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I also
I
like sitting here talking to you, like doing a performance, love it. Could not get enough. Like wigs are so fun.
I mean, look, I've been in drag obviously a bunch of times, not even club kid looks, but like, people have put me in proper drag and I hated it. I
Yeah.
fucking I was done. Take my picture and then take it off my body because it's like walking into a club in heels and being like cinched and the makeup and it's so uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I
And
feel that.
I don't get any satisfaction from doing it. Maybe if like my makeup is really nice, that's like good for me. But I mean, I'll do some kind of makeup and just wear like regular clothes to go on a night out because I love makeup. But there's no joy in standing in a club and like being dressed like this and people like trying to talk to me. It's like I'm either on stage or like you don't see me.
It's so interesting to I mean, I think a lot of drag queens and drag performers who first are starting out describe their experience as like being free and they're open and like I feel like so like you're crossing so many boundaries to get to that point of being a drag performer that your mind breaks and you're like I can do anything. But then I've heard this and what I'm hearing you say is like it can get to a point where the drag actually can be oppressive and you feel like you're trapped in it, which is crazy because drag opens the door for so many reasons and like creatively and gender expression and maybe for some people sexually, but there is a line between like
Hmm.
this is what I do to perform and this like having drag consume your entire life. Unless you're a drag queen, it's really hard to understand what it means to have a foreign persona take over your life that isn't even real.
Yeah, and I've always said that Shanda Leer, I'm talking very much more like myself now, but in other situations, like Shanda Leer is absolutely a character. You know, there's a lot of me in it, but like there's lots of like mannerisms and things and attitudes that she has. And actually I like a while ago I stopped like if people call me she or whatever in drag, that's fine. But I would prefer to just use like he him pronouns, not as like a statement, but just as like I want to respect I want to respect the idea of pronouns. And so it doesn't feel genuine for me to say like, you know, she, her, whatever. But
Interesting.
I have to say this one time, like one of the first times I was in drag, I stopped wearing bras and stuff like ages ago. This was early. I was wearing a bra and it was stuffed and I had like just huge honkers. And
Bonkers.
I was standing at the bar at the Cobalt, and this guy that I play soccer with came up from behind me and like put his hands on the bra and like was squeezing and was like, And I got so I was like, and I hit him and I was like, get off of me. Like, who do you don't fucking touch me. And I swear to God, in that second, I had like time stopped, I had a galaxy brain moment, and I was like, I'm a man wearing a bra, it's stuffed. I can't imagine if I was a woman. And like, and then I was like, and women deal with this constantly. And I just instantly, so I have to say that I think I was a poor feminist and a poor feminist ally up until not that specifically that point, but afterwards, because I started doing a lot more reading and learning and was like, oh, like this is a huge problem. So I like thank you for drag. Thank you to drag for giving me that realization.
What is your relationship with drag now? How do you approach it after you've had all these realizations? Because you obviously like it enough to return to it in some capacity, right? Like
Uh,
it's not completely put away and the door locked.
No, I wanted to give myself that license because I just know I'm a fucking ham and love to perform. And this is like, I've tried comedy out of drag, I've tried acting out of drag, and it's like, it's fine, but for me, like what succeeds for me in comedy, like drag lends itself so much more to it. And I don't know why that is, but like I'm just more natural performing like dressed up this way. So for now, it's like whenever I have the itch to do something, like I haven't posted some in a while, but I've been filming these really short like 1 minute clips of me talking about sports, but in drag.
Love
Because
it.
it just makes sense that, well, I love, and I'm watching, it's all on now, so I'm constantly watching sports, and I'm like, I have things to say, but like funny enough, nobody cares what like I say out of drag. But if I'm wearing this, people are actually like, oh, listen to this like drag performer just rip on the Red Sox for 60 seconds.
Oh my God. That's interesting because it's two things. It's like, why am I invisible when I'm not in drag? And also, this is fun to do it in drag, like
Yeah.
bringing drag to sports is, I mean, when you mentioned that, when you said there, you can't really talk about sports openly around the drag people because there's two things. One, they're not interested in it. And two, you said a really good point. What are you trying to prove? And I think you have some insight into like the queer community does a lot of things right, but we also don't really give room for gay men to be to explore, I guess, quote unquote, more masculine things like sports, even though
Mhm.
sports isn't gender, but how we don't want to hear it. We don't want to believe that you can be a drag queen and like sports authentically. It has to be a joke. It has
Yeah.
to be a joke.
I
And
like Peach Cobbla and I were the queer soccer league in Vancouver out for kicks every year now does like a drag queen or drag you dress in drag or you like wear your underwear and you play like an exhibition game.
ooh,
And the two of us one year, we were talking and I said like we should play our last game of the year where our team was losing. We were dead last. And I'm like, we've got nothing to lose. We should play the last game of the year in drag, like full drag, wigs, everything. And we did. And it was just the two of us on the field. And we didn't tell anybody. We just showed up and people were like, what are you like, what is wrong with you? And we are like, and
what is wrong?
you know who was actually at that game was Scarlett Bobo because she was visiting from Toronto. That's the first time I met
Crazy.
Scarlett. And so we were there and we're like, fuck it, let's play this game. So we played 90 minutes in full drag. Well, probably an hour. I don't think we played the full time. And and now every year they do it.
I love that.
And I haven't played in the league in 3 years now, but like it's just I see them every summer, like the last game of the year, and like half of these guys are these like ratty dresso wigs. But anyway, I got off topic there. I can't remember what your question was.
Well, I just, it's interesting that like drag is such a symbol of freedom and expression. And unless you're in the community, it's not often discussed how oppressive it can be. And especially, if you are into sports or something that is so far away from drag. And you mentioned that, in the dressing rooms, you couldn't really express yourself. And I'm actually curious now, how do your non-drag friends feel about you being a sports fan who is also a drag king? Like maybe your straight guy friends who like you do like to watch sports with. How do they feel about you being a drag queen?
I mean, I think they all I think they all like it. I think they all think it's kind of funny. It's just like in the group of friends that like the friends that I keep in touch with, I shouldn't say keep in touch with, that I see regularly and hang out with. I'm the only one who does drag. And they've all like come to my shows before we were even friends. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we used to go to your show at XY," or like we'd see you at the
Love
Cobalt,
it.
which is crazy. And like it's just like I don't think they think about it. I think they're just like, yeah, that's just Shanda. Like it's just, he
Totally. It's just
loves
part of who you are.
it's just part of who I am. He just loves that. I'd say like friends who I still keep in touch with who do drag are also like at first we're like, this is I don't know what you're trying to do here, but now they're like, yeah, I guess this is just you.
I think because it comes from such an authentic place, like I can relate to that when I was a club kid and what I was doing was so ridiculous, but because it was such an authentic expression, like dressing up like a bag of cocaine, people connected to it because they were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool," because they could tell that even though it was out there, it was me. It was just a
Yeah.
part of like I was letting it out freely. I want to talk to you about bisexuality.
Yes, let's get into it.
Okay. I have a very specific memory. You and I are at the Cobalt and we're standing by the bar. I don't know what we were doing. Who fucking knows? And you mentioned something about, I can't remember if you were like um, talking about a girl that you were attracted to or if we were talking about sex between man and a woman. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you said something that I was like, oh, he's attracted to women. And in that moment, I was like, wait, drag queen, bisexual? Like it was like, "Wah."
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. We didn't really talk anymore about it. I didn't really hear anything more from you about it. But I did hear through the grapevine when you took a step back from drag that you had, I guess, re-come out or told people that you were bisexual. And I remember hearing that and being like, confused. Like, to be completely honest, I was like,
Yeah.
why am I confused? Because still there's a part of me that doesn't really believe, I guess, that bisexuality is real. Like, it's something that gay guys say on the way out of the closet. And that, I know that that isn't true, but in retrospect, that is why I was so like, what do you
Mhm.
mean Shanda's bisexual? So I want to hear more about like was that, did you always know you were bi and you just identified as being gay? Like, I also don't remember you ever clearly saying I'm gay or I'm bi, so that could just be an assumption that people made because you were a drag queen.
Um, yeah, I've always known that I'm attracted to men and women. And like even it's evolved even more now where like I'm attracted to anybody I'm attracted to. But I just kind of I grew up with the term bisexual, so like that's the one I'm comfortable with. And there's like a debate now where people are like, well, if you say you're bi, then that's like um it's so binary, like it excludes like trans people or non-binary people.
Interesting.
And so that's why some people are comfortable saying pansexual.
Okay.
And that is like, I mean, on paper, like if you look at them, I'm like, yeah, sure. You would be like, yeah, I'm pan, but bi, I'm not well versed on like the debate, but it's just like bi isn't binary. It's not strictly man or woman, right? Because, well, okay, so anyway, when I I came out when I was 20, I think, 20 or 21. And I came out to a friend who's gay, and and I told her, I was like, I think, because I had been dating a girl, or I'd actually just broken up with a girl, and said, yeah, I think that I'm attracted to guys, but I'm not really sure. And then she was kind of like, she was great, and she was like, I kind of see it. She's like, there are some things. She's like, but at the time, because it was like early 2000s, she was like, she's like, you could be bi. She's like, you're probably just gay.
Hmm.
And I remember saying, I really don't think so. And so that was the end of that. And then, and like I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but like she's always been so supportive and like a very like dear person in my life. So if it, I don't want anybody to read into like her being like, no, you're gay, like not believing
Right.
bisexuality. Um, but then I had been like, I had had decent like, I'd say luck dating girls and like, attention, whatever. I don't know what it is or what it was about me in my early 20s though, but like I got so much attention from men and I had never felt like hot before that
Mm.
I would say for probably like 7 years, it was like I only was with men. And I also got introduced to the queer community, but specifically like gay men's community, and was like, oh, there's so much in here that I love, right? Like there's just so much to identify with. And like, yeah, like I've never felt like playing sports, like I always felt like a bit of like the other one in the locker room.
Yeah.
and it was just like so much validation. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm gay, and like I'm a ham. So like just being like at parties and being like, yeah, like I'm a big F word, calling myself like just oh my God, like I would wear the gayest stuff. One of my favorite outfits to wear in university was I would do clear coat on my nails every day. Because the idea of like starting to like of being allowed to play with makeup. So I'd wear like eyeliner, love the Killers. So Brandon Flowers, he wore eyeliner.
Ooh, I love him.
Ooh, still.
Yes, honey.
Top coat, no nail polish, just top coat, make them shiny.
Okay.
I had this 8 foot black and gray scarf that I would like wrap around it. It would still like trail by my knees. I wore bell bottoms, yellow sneakers, and this like fuchsia shirt. And you could not tell me that I wasn't the one walking down Spring Garden Road in Halifax.
I love that.
And it afford so like it's almost like that early stage was like when I first really started doing drag. If we're doing like the RuPaul definition,
Yep.
because I realized there are no rules to anything and was like, oh, well, this is great. I can do whatever I want. Oh, and this guy who like now I'm allowed to say he's attractive thinks that I'm hot and he wants to make out. Like, what could get better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I I totally relate to that when you first let your mind open to like being attracted to guys and it's okay, like you don't die on the spot for
yeah,
like admitting it. I also was like, you know, head to toe sparkles, you know, everything skin tight, not necessarily because I liked it, because I was so excited that I had found a new freedom in
yeah,
self-expression. And it took me a long time to balance that out and let myself just be whoever I am in any given moment. But when I came out, I had girlfriends and I still look back and I did like them. I really genuinely like them. I was scared to have sex with them. Like I remember there was like one girlfriend in particular, God bless her heart. We were having a sleepover and we were both virgins, and you know, she wanted to make it happen that night. And I was riddled with anxiety. And I mean, I don't think that's uncommon, the first time you have sex to be nervous, but a lot of people thought I was gay because I was really flamboyant. And I remember the first time I kissed a boy, I was like, oh my God, it feels so different.
it
So
feels
different.
so different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why I felt comfortable identifying as gay, because it's not that I didn't enjoy making out with my girlfriends and doing whatever else we did, but it felt there was such a profound difference in, like, I felt the fireworks inside. It was like like an explosion of like yes. Whereas with girls it was like, yeah, okay,
yeah.
that's all right.
Something that I realized, it's probably just like it's for myself, but maybe somebody else can relate to it. I also was scared to have sex with women when I was younger, and I realize now it's because I knew that I was attracted to men, and I also thought about having sex with men. And I thought, if I'm bad at having sex with this girl, she's going to tell everybody that I'm bad, and they're going to be like, he's gay. And
Ooh.
it was like just such a barrier for me for years. I mean, I had slept with women, but I was like, I know that I was bad and like just so panicked all the time. It took
Yeah.
me many years to finally just be like, oh, it's like people just you're just having sex, just relax.
Totally. And I think there's a lot of, like, when we were growing up, pressure in the media to like sex and masculinity, like being good at sex meant that you were validated as a man, and you like having a lot of it. Um okay, so when you took a step back from drag and did you have like more, since you had more time in your life, where you're like, okay, I need to give more time to my sexuality, I need to date women again and bring that back into my life?
I had been kind of, and not really in secret, but also kind of in secret, exploring it while I was still doing drag.
Okay.
So like talking to girls on apps and stuff, and like just also like really flirting with girls like in person at bars, and like sneaking like very like drunken makeouts and like, you know, whatever else. Like we're like behind corners and stuff. But It was when I finally took some time back from it, one of my dearest friends now and forever, Megan, who is bi, really guided me through the whole thing because she had I guess like come out to herself and maybe some friends, I can't remember, but like she knew that that was part of her identity and also had gone through like all of the intense questioning that you give yourself where you're like the number one question anybody who's bi will ask themselves is, am I faking this? Like,
Right.
am I doing, because even when I started to tell, like, be more open that I was bi, people would be like, basically like, oh, you're doing this for attention, or like, you're just like trying to sound cool. And yeah, probably for like the first year where I was like openly, I was like really like on my guard, like, how do I prove that this is real? And she was like, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You know, she's like, this is just who you are. She's like, if you find a woman attractive, you do. She's like, gay men can find women attractive too, but if it stops there for them where they're just like, that's a beautiful woman, and she's like, and if you're thinking about this woman in like a way that's just not, wow, she's pretty, she's like, that's valid and that's fine. And it took a long time for me to give myself permission to just be like, I don't have to, it's not 50-50. Like I can be in a mood where I'm just looking at guys, and I can be in a mood where I'm like, that woman's attractive and I would like to ask her out on a date.
So it's not every single moment of your life as a bisexual person, you're 50-50 equally wanting to like do things
Yeah.
to both whatever gender at the same time. It fluctuates based on how you're feeling and whatever's happening in your life.
Yeah, like the idea of giving myself permission, it's I kind of, if I was like visualizing it, it's like it's I don't even know. I'm trying to think, like it's almost like taking off a seatbelt and or like taking off a
Mm.
restraint, and you're like, whoever you see anybody walking down the street and you'll be like, person, wow, they're attractive. It's a woman, person, it
Ah,
that's a man.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
So yeah,
get
it
that.
really is just like whoever, for me, it's whoever I see that I'm like, yeah.
Okay. So have you ever approached a girl, hit on a girl, tried to get it on with a girl who said, "Aren't you gay?"
Yes.
And what
Yeah.
happens after that? Do you have to convince her? Like, do you become less attractive to women because they know you like sucking dick sometimes?
I would say the first year that I was like fully just, I'm out, I'm bi, I'm still going to clubs and parties and like trying to pick up girls, I would get so defensive. And and it would depend
Slap
like
her?
what, yeah, you bitch. But like I remember it would kind of be like, it would depend on just like how her attitude was. I remember hitting on a girl at the Fox one time, and she was like, she basically was just like, "Are you?" It was on the dance floor, and she like yelled in my ear. She's like, "Are you gay?" I was like, "No, I'm bi." And she went, "Ugh," and I got so offended. I was like, "Well, fuck you!" Like, walked away, turned into like a very stereotypical bitchy gay guy. I was like, like,
Yeah.
and then I I also had gone on a couple dates with this woman I met at the Boxcar, I think, or somewhere, and I was flirting with her, and she's like, "Sorry, I thought you were gay. I feel like you're hitting on me." And I was like, "I am hitting on you. I'm bi." And she was like, "Oh," and I said like, "Is that weird? Like, is that uncomfortable?" And was ready to just talk about it, but not even talk, just to be like if that's weird for you, then like that's not my problem. I think you're attractive and like I would like to get to know you. And that's the line that I would use now if I was like flirting with somebody.
Interesting. That's one of the first things I think about is like, I understand that gay guys can be attracted to women. What
Mhm.
I question is, are women attracted to gay men? You know, like I have had friends who are like, I love gay porn. I love watching, gay guys make out. And it all comes back to gender roles, right? Like, because if you're gay, you're feminine, you're less than, you're not masculine, you're not going to be attractive. Like that whole cycle spiraling in my mind. But I do know bisexual people in my life, and I find it interesting. And I do think that it's part of the, like, the one of the letters that nobody talks about. It's just sort of like
That's a
not.
bi erasure.
Yeah, and nobody really cares. Like you don't struggle. You have, a whole buffet of options.
Yeah.
But it is. I can imagine it being difficult when it comes to like really nailing down like getting laid, finding a partner, and sharing yourself with somebody, because there are so many hangups, like what people think about being bisexual. Even though we've had so many discussions about gender and
Yeah.
sexuality, it's never been included. It's like gay, lesbian, trans.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was I would say the reason why I kind of fully embraced just being like not because I still at the time didn't consider myself gay, but like those years where I was like only like into guys and like that kind of thing. It comes down to representation. The guys that I had like in history would be like Lou Reed and David Bowie, number one and number two. But even then, like Lou Reed was kind of like uh he's just like such a punk. So you're like you question the authenticity. And then David Bowie ended up marrying Iman, one of the most beautiful women in the world, and it was like, oh, his like bi stories are from the 70s and the 80s when he was like ripped on cocaine and like just like experimenting. So it totally was a phase. But I really did hold on to David Bowie specifically as like it's real because I believe that he's bi, but he's not with a man, right? Like so,
Exactly.
but on the flip side of that, you see lots of I always felt, whether it's true or not, that there's more by women representation in media, for
Oh
better or
my
for
God. Yeah,
worse.
for sure.
And those times it's like, she's with a guy, but like, oh, she's kissed a girl before. Like even Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. Or you see a woman like who's in a relationship with a woman in movie or TV, and they're like, oh, she's bi because like she once had a boyfriend.
Right. Right. And now you have somebody like Harry Styles who flirts with the fact that he is bisexual, but is like 100% and like wears lingerie and high heels and is like super, exploring his femme side, but is 100% not kissing any boys in any videos,
Yeah,
like,
you still like for bi male representation, it's I still don't really feel like it's there. And I don't want to detract from the, great bisexual men that are in pop culture and in sports. Like there are lots of male bi athletes.
oh, I didn't know
Um,
that.
yeah, and I'm reading a book now just to like learn more about them, but they for the athletes, they don't really ever get signed to like major deals. So you rarely see them, or you may see them for a blip because it's like a PR story. And then for the guys, like if it's pop culture or music, it's they'll be like a Harry Styles. Maybe the most they'll do is like kiss a guy or like take a cute Instagram photo where it's like, oh, these two guys are like, affectionate with each other. That's it. And then if you see them with like a male partner, everyone's like, well, it's some gay guys.
Exactly. And you think about when Britney and Madonna kissed and how everybody was like, oh my God, what? Like, where was the Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber kiss? I'm still fucking waiting for that. And what would
Yeah,
happen? What out of all of, the media saying that they're so excited for us and they love it, what would fucking happen if tonight the VMAs are tonight? What would happen if that happened tonight? Would people be like, yay, that's so cute. They're so flirty and young and like, oh, I like it. Or would they be like,
yeah.
faggot? Like, what would they
I
do?
I honestly don't know. I haven't even thought. It's funny you say that because that's something I've never thought about. Like, what's the counterpart to that? Because I just don't expect to ever see it. The closest we ever got was Elton John and Eminem,
I
and they
mean,
stood
that's
they
not
stood like
close.
that's not even close. But like they stood like 8 feet apart. It's just it really speaks to like it speaks to the fetishization of women loving women. because that is to, and everybody gets like so horny for it, and they're like, oh yeah, cool. Or like even I think it was Selena, I know it was Selena Gomez, and it might have been Demi Lovato. But like Selena Gomez was doing a performance, like I think it was an award show, and then like it was I want to say it was Hands to Myself. I love Selena Gomez, so I feel bad that I can't remember. I think it was Hands to Myself. She's on this like circular bed. There's a hot guy in underwear, and then this woman pops up. I want to say it's Demi Lovato, and then the three of them are on this bed
Ooh.
at this, and the whole crowd is going nuts. And I'm like, yeah, like that's great, and like I've been there. It's really fun, but
Yeah.
everybody's jacked for the two girls, and like, you know, whatever.
It's this story. Okay. Okay, pop culture, yes. I mean, Christina Aguilera used to say Ricky Martin in Livin' La Vida Loca was rubbing up on everybody, and she got flack because in Dirty she was like in assless chaps doing whatever. So there's always been that double standard, but
Mhm.
also in porn, there's problematic storylines. I think in gay porn, which is seducing the straight guy. And that all
Yeah.
you have to do is crawl into bed and give him a blowjob, and suddenly he's fucking you. And it's like that to me is not the best message to send people, because one, some people are not bi, some people do not want to be hit on by gay guys. And I think I mean, I haven't watched a lot of bisexual porn except for recently when that person liked that couple liked a tweet of ours, and I went down the rabbit hole. And I feel like I was like, oh my God, bisexual porn is having a moment. But maybe that was just me having a moment with bisexual porn,
It,
but it felt
yeah,
like the men were super hot. It wasn't about the women. Like the guys were doing all the things that gay guys do.
yeah. Like going back to the seducing the straight guys thing. I mean, I would say that any guy who's into guys, we've all watched a video or two of that before, right? Because it's like you can't help it. We've all had that fantasy once, right? Like a guy
Yeah.
in school that you, or like a friend where you're like, anyway, that one, it's damaging because it's kind of like fetishizing assault.
Totally.
But the
Totally.
second part of it drives me crazy is that you're right, lots of guys are just straight, but they're also curious. And being curious is so valid. And so many guys, I think, would are afraid to be open about their curiosity because of porn like that, and because of gay men
Mm,
totally turn it into like a hunt and like hunter prey conquest, where they're like, I'm gonna convert that guy. And like a guy wants to kiss another guy. Now everybody's just going to assume, oh, he's gay. And he's like, no, I just wanted to like kiss that guy. Like I have kissed every single one of my, not everyone, but like nearly every one of my male friends who are straight, the straight ones. And like, and like even tongued a couple of them. And
you
they're not
tongued.
gay. Yeah, but like they're not gay, but like they just were like, I kind of just want to kiss a dude. Like,
Yeah,
is
to see
that
what it's
weird? And I'm
like.
like, it's not weird. It's not weird. And like,
And we
you
need
know,
to let them give them the space to explore, because that's when they get fucking crazy and they repress all these urges and then they do
yeah.
stupid shit.
I mean, I
When I
have
first,
like the only times that the times that I've kissed them has been like when we've all been like really high on MDMA, when
I mean,
everybody's like,
yeah,
I
that's
want to
when,
kiss everybody. But like, even being, even like circling the planet, they were still like nervous, and they're like, is it weird if we do this? I'd be like, only if you want to do it, it's fine, because like we're high and like kissing is fun. And it's just like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, okay, fine, let's do it.
When I first moved to Vancouver, I went to film school and I was in my early 20s and everybody was. And I, I, that year, I hooked up with more straight identifying men that were curious than I did with gay guys. I hadn't really explored Davie Street yet, and I was in school, so it was just like the token gay guy. But I, in that time, was I don't know what are the right words. It was proven to me that that sexuality is truly a spectrum, and time and place, right? Like people
Yeah.
are curious and they do want to explore it. And I think at that time, because I was so confident, or at least gave off that illusion, they They felt like it was okay to explore it, and it was so fun, and there was no strings attached. And I know that in the morning I wasn't like, are you going to be my boyfriend? Like, they went
No.
off and had girlfriends, and we still stay in touch. But I think it's important that, yeah, we do, I let men explore without the pressure of like defining what that moment meant to them. Girls are allowed to fool around in college. Why can't boys?
Yeah, oh, it's saying defining like that it defines them. Oh, that is so that's
Hmm.
that's how to phrase that because guys totally think any exploration outside of like traditional masculinity is just I find it really cool now. I deleted TikTok because problematic, but
Yeah.
when I was scrolling constantly, like there is a lot of content out there, whether it you want to call it gay baiting or not, of like straight guys who are a bit more relaxed and like they'll call their friends handsome or they'll be like, you look really hot today, you know, or be like,
Yeah.
it would be like, my buddy's got a great ass. Like they're, it's really nice for me personally to see because I'm like, see, this is how I could have been living
Right.
forever. And when we have the traditional conversations in the queer community of like, you've got your queer elders who are like, yo, they paved the way for us, and they're like, oh, I can't like imagine if I had this for you. It's crazy, like for me, 35, to be like, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if this content was out there, I would have been like, wow, what a difference this would have made for me.
Yeah. And I think we need to remember too that just because you're a part of the queer community doesn't mean that you're totally healed and accepted. And like there's
Yeah.
so many layers
Yes.
to like, we're not just like, okay, I told my mom I was gay and now for the rest of my life I'm going to experience complete freedom and self-love and acceptance from my peers. Like how did your fellow drag queens react to you saying that you were bi, or when they realized you were? What was their reaction?
Some of them were at first were like, okay, totally
Mhm.
fine. And then I would hear like nobody said anything to my face except for Jem.
They never do,
They never do, but I would hear
except for
from
Jem.
people, except for Jim, and I would hear from people that they were like, is he having like a nervous breakdown? Is something going on? Is he doing this to like just be cool now? Is he trying to like make this like new identity? Like it was just a lot of like distrust, which
Yeah.
for people who are bi, you experience from the gay community and from the straight community. It's always
Yeah.
like a oh, they're suspicious. But I mean, Jem, like at first, she was just like, she's like, "Ugh, fuck you, you're not. She's like, you're not bi. She's like, look at you, you big dirty bottom, you big loose baby. Like, and but now because like we've rekindled our friendship, which I'm eternally grateful for, and we've talked about it, she's like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, of course you
Yeah.
are.
I actually find that more the older I get, first of all, the more scared I am of sex. Well, not sex, some of the porn I see accidentally on Twitter, it's not okay. It's like, what?
I hate scrolling through Twitter and being like, whoa,
That was not what
like,
I signed up for. Yeah. But I also find like before Evan and I left Kelowna and I was still partying a lot, I was like hooking up with girls. We were
mhm,
partying a lot, but I do feel like the more comfortable you become in who you are as a person, the more you, like you said, taking off the seatbelt and exploring an impulse in the moment instead of intellectualizing it. And I think, like, I've had this conversation with Jem too. I don't know if I identify as bi, but I am 100% know that at any given moment, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know. Who knows? Like, I'm attracted to such a wide variety of men. Who's to say that that's not going to be a woman at some point?
I think how awful to be given life and to give and who knows how many years any of us have, but like all the years that we have on this planet to not allow yourself to explore things that you're interested in and make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's just that to me is sad. That so I get very sad for anybody who is queer or curious and still defines himself as straight because they just feel like it's not allowed. I'm like, you literally can do anything
Anything.
as long
Anything.
as you aren't harming anybody and there's consent, you can do
I'm
anything
just
you
gonna
want.
I'm gonna edit the interview right there. You can do anything. End.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shanda. No, but you're right. I have this like I've been to a bathhouse once when I was living in LA. I was super young and I actually thought it was a spa when I was invited. I was like, "Oh my God, that's so nice. You invited me to the spa." But I have this like
Mm.
image in my mind of like a big beautiful house that's a sex positive party that isn't based on drugs where people are free sexually and exploring and having fun because there is so much beauty in it, and to
Mm.
be able to like explore your sexuality and gender expression with other people and feeling seen and heard is so important. Like that's part of our what we are, like why we're here.
Well, those. Hi, Evan.
Shanda says hi.
Shonda.
Remember we used to call you
Glorious. Mucho,
Shanda.
mucho, mucho amor.
Shanda.
Shonda.
Shanda.
There are places, there are spaces like that that exist.
Oh,
And they
where?
are, well, they're predominantly, in my experience, found in the kink and
You're being
fetish
loud,
community. So, like,
Evan.
the, that's so cute.
Ruining the podcast.
But yeah, like, the kink and the fetish community have always created these spaces. It's just that they layer on the other things that they're into, right? So to your point, yeah, I don't think there is, unless like I've heard tell of like there are like parties that happen sometimes and it's very like invite only and like you got to know somebody to get the invite because the freedom that are in these spaces like is could be under such attack from like
Yeah.
randoms showing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I've gone to some fetish parties. I went to one. I took some friends to one in Seattle a couple of years ago, and
Nice.
it was really it was fun. Like we were all super drunk, and I'm like, I know there's a kink party. I don't know if it's all of your speed, but like I think it'll be really fun. And we went and we had a good time, and there was like a flogging station, and there was like people like getting like their nipples like torn off and but the music
Torn
was
off?
so no, not torn off.
Oh my God, that's a cannibal party.
But the music was so good. We were all having a really nice time, and it was like under the guise of like everybody looks like they're in a Marilyn Manson video, but
Oh,
but
okay.
the theme, but the overall like feeling of the party is like just come in and like do what you're gonna do.
I knew like what's the big party in Sin City in Vancouver. I
Yeah,
went to that a few times, but I was always basically resisted going because I didn't identify with the kink fetish scene. And even though I was a club kid and people are like, look at you, you're a mess, go to Sin City. But
you're like this isn't sexy though.
yeah, and it wasn't related to sex. Like I was
Yeah,
not, the way I dressed up was purely expression and performative. And yeah, I think I'd be more open to it now, but also scared because it does, I don't know. Like I do find, I maybe it's being sober now too. I just feel like I'm nervous about it. Like, what am I
yeah.
gonna see? What are people gonna? What if somebody wants to spank me in front of everyone,
You just say no.
or say yes?
Or say yes. And that's the thing, do whatever you feel. But like consent is such it's such a crucial part. And I am not involved in the kink or the fetish community, but like I have been on like the periphery of exploring it for a while, just because I want to see like what else is out there. And consent is like at the heart of like everything that they do. I notice that in their
Totally.
event descriptions and like how people talk about it. And like that is I would have been hesitant to fetish parties at first because like one, it's like I don't it's not sex phobia, but like they're so sex positive, and I obviously have a lot of or still have some hangups about sex. So
Hmm.
like going into that space, like you're right. Like I'd be like you. I'd be like what if somebody wants to do this, but their answer is always like, then you tell them no, and then they don't do it.
They have so much clarity about it. I know.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like I've noticed that too. I mean, consent is such a big part of it. I mean, we could learn something from them. I mean, that just goes to show you, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody who's listening, go to a kink party tonight and ask for Shanda.
Tell them I sent you.
Okay.
You're on the
So
list.
you're on the list and I'll be getting spanked on stage.
I'm putting in my
Um,
list at 6 p.m. So message me on Facebook because I'm not answering texts.
oh my God. Flashbacks. Thanks so much for being a guest, Shonda.
Oh, thank you so much, Petra.
What do you have? Do you have anything coming up that you want to share with people? I know you have a top
I
secret project,
the
apparently.
top secret project, which I will be like blasting out. But okay, so I every Wednesday, me and Jem are on Instagram Live,
Yes.
7 p.m. Pacific. Text Me Live, our original show that we did many years ago at the Emerald, and decided to also do broadcast it on Google Hangouts.
I love it.
We were doing drag
Oh,
live on
yeah.
the internet.
Mm-hmm. I was a
So
witness.
you were. It was always a very intimate crowd. But so we do that every Wednesday. It's so fun because I get to hang out with a friend of mine for an hour. We get to wear wigs and stuff. I just started a podcast with a
Yes, yes, you did. I
yes.
did. I started listening to one episode at work and I got distracted, but tell me about it.
Um, aside from sports, other interests I have. Well, okay, professional wrestling is like wrapped up in sports, and since the age of 6, I love professional wrestling because it's drag, it's
Totally.
performance, but it's so athletic and it's very entertaining. So my friend Mike Noble and I, he's also the bassist in Hotel Mira, so you should
Oh,
listen to
cool.
them,
Okay.
Mira. Um, we both love professional wrestling, video games, and anime. And we decided we're very new friends, but we were like, wow, we have so much in common. This is crazy. And he wanted to work on a new project. He's like, I know that we're guys who are in our 30s. So like starting a podcast feels like on the nose, but I think it would be fun to like build this friendship and also just like talk about I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So it's
Yeah.
called Where the Big Boys Game.
Ooh.
He's big boy number one. I'm big boy number dos.
Oh, I
Hmm.
like
So
that.
on Twitter, so the title, it's on Spotify and Apple and all of the other stuff, but on Twitter, we're at WT Big Boys Game. And on Instagram, we can do the full name, Where the Big Boys Game. But I post about it on my own Instagram, which is at It's Shanda Leer. And I love Twitter to my detriment.
You are the reason why I finally got like you. I tweeted once every 2 years and you would be like, hi. And it made me feel seen, honey. And now I love Twitter. Like I got
I
into a
love
flow.
Twitter.
Yeah, I got into a flow. I really, I love it. I love it. It's a great place.
Yeah,
It's a great place to be.
it's where I really found a bigger community of queer sports fans.
Yeah.
Because you follow me, so you know I mostly am just tweeting
Yeah.
about something
Recently, I'm
psycho
like, no
about
idea what you're
sports.
talking about. No
Yeah.
idea. Sometimes you post pictures of the athletes and they're fucking hot, which I like. So.
Oh God, I mean that's the best way to get people to watch sports is like, look how hot all of these guys are.
You know what? When I was young, I was at because my dad died when I was young, and my mom got me a big brother. Or was it my sister and I shared one at one time? I think I got a big brother, and then my he took me to hockey games, and I was like, not my thing. I brought my
No.
sister who loved hockey. Anyway, I went down to the change room and they were letting all of the young boys stand in line at the change room to get autographs. And then they invited us in. And I remember standing in the change room and seeing all
Ooh.
these fucking hot men and being like, okay, maybe I do like sports. I don't fucking know. Like
Maybe
it was,
hockey's okay. Yeah.
maybe hockey's fine. Anyway, let's end it there on
Yes.
hot, hot hockey players. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you
me.
for the thank you for the
You're
invite. You've
my,
had such like a slew of like top like tier guests. Like Juicebox. I love Juicebox. So
I
like
love Juice Box. Yeah.
so sweet, so cute.
Very
Like
cute.
beautiful in
Yeah.
drag, like beautiful out of drag, and just like
Yeah.
very down to earth. Like I love it.
I know. We didn't even talk about Drag Race. I'm not even going to start because
Oh,
we'll,
I mean, they
yeah, but
better cast me on if they have a season 2. I want on it.
they will for sure have a season two. Also, yeah. Yeah, they're definitely going to have a season two. I've heard through the grapevine. I mean, they just have to, I mean,
It's probably
COVID,
already
right?
cast. Yeah,
Pandemic. Yeah, it's me,
yeah.
starring me.
I
But I
will.
don't have, yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to drag this on too long, but I wanted to say earlier we were like, oh, you've gotten back into drag. Oh, I hate to admit this because like I was like, no, drag's not for me. I don't want to be a professional drag queen. Now that I've seen Canada's Drag Race and I've looked at challenges and been like, I would have been so good at that. Like I watched the
Yes.
American one and I'm like, you know, I keep like a healthy distance because there's so many armchair drag race critics who are like, she
Yep.
should have done this, she should have done that. And I'm like, you have no idea. And I haven't even been on TV. But because it's Canadian and because I've seen some of these girls live and because I just like it's more attainable, I'm like, oh bitch, I want to be on that TV show.
I
I would be
agree.
so good.
You would be great. It changed the way, yeah. Because never part of something that Canadian drag queens could do. And now it
No.
is. We can be on TV. I'm not
Yeah.
a drag queen. You,
Brooklyn
you
Heights had to
all.
get a special alien visa to move to Nashville and then had to live in Nashville and work at Play for how long? Win Miss Continental and then get on Drag Race as the first Canadian.
Yep.
Now we can just apply. I applied
Yeah.
last year, but I knew when I sent it in because I rushed it. I was like, that's not going to be
You
good.
believe me, these queens from the conversation, I talked to Boa as well. And, this show is essentially a commercial for your career. You don't make money on the show. You
No,
tour, and they can't fucking tour right now. So any queen
no.
who's upset that they're not able to be on Drag Race season 1, it's a blessing in disguise because you want to be on it when you can, like,
Yeah.
as soon as they announce the cast, you basically start getting booked. And if you can't do that, maybe wait till the pandemic's over. I don't know if that ever happens. Who fucking knows?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep applying every year because the pool of talent in Canada is like so much smaller than everywhere else that you'd be a fool not to apply.
Yeah.
And you look at the girls in the States who, you know, God willing, Canada's Drag Race goes on for many seasons. If they see me every single time, it's just like I have to do like I know I have to do more content and like photo shoots and stuff, but
Hmm.
maybe I don't. Maybe they'll just be like, this guy would be good on TV. And I
Totally.
know I would be. I know
Yeah.
I would be. Oh my
I hope
God.
I know you would be too, and I hope that that is the approach that they do because being insta famous is like, oh my God, it doesn't fucking matter. It's so like
You know
tiny.
what? You can take 10 million gorgeous photos and have them all color coordinated and just not be a good performer or engaging.
Yeah, Miss Fame. Hello.
I mean, she's so beautiful, but like, oh my God, Peter, you've seen me perform. I'm so good at lip syncing. I'm
Oh, but
so
you would be
good
so
at it.
good. I know. You would be
Oh,
great. You'd be so good at confessionals. Yeah, you would be great. You would be amazing.
thank you. I appreciate it. So I can count on your vote.
Yes,
See you at the
I'll be in
parade.
touch. Okay. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Miss Shanda Leer, you iconic legend, you. Woohoo!
Thank
Okay.
you, darling. It's been so nice to
But
chat with you.
yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.